আসেনি। Dear students of HSC class 12 in Rajshahi College, today I will speak on different units in the sentences and clauses and also on phrases. I think it is essential for the students to learn and identify different units in a sentence or clause, because I often see students misunderstanding the phrases or the units used in a clause and thus misinterpreting the sentence and the context. I think there are errors in English teaching and learning methods in Bangladesh. That is why there are many errors we find while we examine the scripts of the examinees, or we come across some English conversation. Let us try to solve our limitations, our shortcomings or errors, learning different language aspects gradually. Today, I will focus on identifying the units in a sentence. Why is it necessary? It is necessary because whenever I write such a sentence, whenever I write or speak a sentence like this one, the man looking at me is my relative, and ask the listener, obviously in most cases my students, to translate it in Bangla. Most of the students start like this one, লোকটি আমার দিকে তাকিয়ে আছে, and then get confused. Actually, the part in the sentence before the finite verb makes a single unit. It is the subject. It is the subject of this sentence. This part makes the subject of the sentence, and the sense of this part is that যে লোকটি আমার দিকে তাকিয়ে আছে, not লোকটি আমার দিকে তাকিয়ে আছে. When you get such a structure, a noun followed by a present participle phrase, this present participle phrase actually modifies that noun. Here, looking at me is modifying noun man. Thus, the sense is যে লোকটি আমার দিকে তাকিয়ে আছে is my relative, আমার আত্মীয়. Is the finite verb, and my relative is, what is it? Most of the students and English users in Bangladesh will call it object. This is not the object. My relative is referring to the subject, the man looking at me, rather giving the identity of the subject. Whenever a word or phrase gives the identity of the subject, it is called complement. So, we have three parts in this sentence: subject, finite verb, and complement. Just imagine there is no object in this sentence. So, since our early days of learning English grammar, we are taught that sentences have three parts: subject, verb, and object. All are not objects. What is object? An object is a noun or a noun phrase following the finite verb. I repeat, an object is a noun or a noun phrase following a finite verb which does not identify the subject. Like this one, in this sentence, my relative is giving the identity, providing information about the subject, the man looking at me. But an object is a noun or noun phrase absolutely different from the subject, and thus the object in the clause can be made the subject of the clause when the clause itself is made a passive clause or passive sentence. For example, the man looking at me knows my relatives. My relative. Look, I have changed only the verb of the previous sentence and I have used the verb knows. As a result, not only the meaning of this sentence is changed, but also the identity of my relatives, the identity of the phrase my relatives is also changed. Because in the first sentence, my relative is the identity of the subject. The man looking at me and my relative is refers to the same person, refers to the same noun. The man and my relative is the same noun. But in the second sentence, the subject, the man looking at me, is not the phrase my relative is not referring to the subject, the man looking at me. Like the previous one, the part before the finite verb is the subject of the clause or sentence, knows, you know, finite verb, and my relatives is the object. Students are taught, even students are confused, sometimes misinterprets and misunderstands the identity of the nouns that follow the finite verbs in the sentences. Some of the nouns that follow the finite verb can be called, are called complements. Some of the noun or noun phrases that follow the finite verbs are called objects. So, all the nouns we get after the finite verb in a clause cannot be called objects. Objects are only those which nouns or noun phrases do not refer to the subject, do not give the identity or information about the subject. Thus, object is a different item and hence object make a unit in a sentence. Besides complement and object, we have a number of other units in the sentence that follow the finite verbs. For example, she came last night. she came. Well, one thing I forgot to repeat, that all objects can be made subjects of the clause, but complements cannot be make the subject of the clause to make the clause passive. For example, he looks like a school teacher. You cannot make the sentence passive because you cannot make the sentence, you cannot make the complement a school teacher, the subject as the subject and the complement refers to the same person. But if you have a sentence like this one, he looks at the teacher, that is the teacher and the subject he are different persons, and you can make this sentence passive. So the teacher will become the subject in the passive sentence. The teacher is looked at by him, and we have used the object form him of the subject he. Therefore, in this sentence, in the third sentence, a school teacher is a complement and he looks at the teacher. In this sentence, the teacher is an object. Is it that we have only complements and objects after the finite verb? No. Looks at is a finite verb. Similarly, looks like is also a finite verb. We have some other units in a sentence as well. For example, he met me last night. We have four different units in this sentence. He is the subject, met is the finite verb. You know, if you want to make the sentence passive or make the clause passive, you can easily transform the verb met into a passive one. Therefore, me is an object. And what is last night? This also makes a unit. This is called adverb. Adverb adverbs express the time of place, duration, manner, reason. Time, place, duration, manner, reason, and distance. of the verb of the of not the of a verb. The function of adverbs is to express the time where the verb takes place, when the verb takes place, the place where the verb takes place, duration, how long the verb takes place, manner, how the verb takes place, reason why the verb takes place, and distance, how long did the verb take place. Adverbs with the answers to the questions related to the time, place, duration, manner, reason, distance of a verb. So, yesterday the Honorable Minister delivered a speech. Yesterday is the adverb giving the time, telling the time. It is called adverb of time. The Honorable Minister is the subject of the sentence. Delivered is the finite verb. A speech is a noun phrase. Does it identify the subject, the Honorable Minister? No. Therefore, when it is a noun and it does not refer to the subject or identify the subject, easily we can call it object. Similarly, in another sentence like this one, she felt sick after working hard. She felt sick after working hard. In this sentence, she is the subject, felt is the finite verb, sick is the complement. It is an adjective complement, not a noun complement. Sick refers to the subject she, but sick itself is not a noun. Sick is an adjective, and thus it refers to the sick doesn't refers to the subject. That is why it is a complement. And this part, after working hard, is the adverb in the sentence. This is an adverb of time. Yesterday is also an adverb of time. We play in the field we play in the field on holidays. In this sentence, we is the subject, play is the finite verb, in the field is adverb of place where the verb play takes place, and on holidays is another adverb in the sentence. We have two adverbs in the sentence. This is adverb of time. When does the verb play take place? So, how many per units we have got in a clause sentence? We have got subject, finite verb, object, complement, adverb, and along with these the non-finite verbs also make independent units in a sentence. They are presented in the units as a unit. The non-finite verbs are presented in a clause or sentence as a unit in the form of a phrase. I told you that there are three types of non-finite verbs: present participles, past participles, present participles, past participles, and infinitives. Present participles, past participles, well, rather we should say present participle phrase, past participle phrase, and infinitive phrase can also make the units in a sentence. For example, taking tea. In a previous class I told you the use of the non-finite verbs. Taking tea, they came here. This taking tea, making a unit, P, present participle phrase, they is the subject, came is the finite verb, and you see here is the adverb, as here is expressing the place where the finite verb can take place. I saw him dancing there. Dancing with a man. Look, I is the subject, saw is the finite verb, him is the object of the sentence, dancing with a man is the present participle phrase making a unit in the sentence. Similarly, I saw the drawing completed already. Here drawing follows the article the, therefore it has become a noun phrase. And I told in the previous class that whenever ing is added with the base form of the verb, the word with ing added with the base form of a verb is called a gerund. Here the drawing is a gerund, functioning as a noun, and it is functioning as the object of the sentence. If you want, you can make the sentence passive. Saw is the finite verb, I is the subject, and completed already. You see, completed already presented in this form is indicating that it's being presented in the past participle phrase form. So we have 4 units in this sentence: subject, finite verb, object, past participle phrase. Similarly, the man found the match ended. Here the man is the subject, found is the finite verb, the match is the object, ended is the past participle phrase. And thus we also have infinitive phrases as the units in a sentence. For example, I told you to go there. I told you to go there. We have subject I, told, finite verb, you, object, to go there is an infinitive phrase. Similarly, it seems. An easy. It seems an easy job to get this. It is the subject, seems is the finite verb, an easy job is the complement, because if you translate in Bangla simply, what will be the sense of the sentence? এটা মনে হয় যে, and এটা একটা সহজ কাজ মনে হয়, সহজ কাজ, an easy job and it is the same idea, An easy job and it are the same idea. Therefore, an easy job is the complement in the sentence. To get this is an infinitive phrase. Thus, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We may have 8 units in a sentence. Among these sentences, among these units, the mandatory ones are finite verb, is the mandatory unit in a sentence, and subject is also a mandatory unit in a sentence. That is, in a sentence there must be at least a subject and a finite verbs. Only imperative sentences do not have the explicit subject, rather the subject in an imperative sentence is implicit. But an imperative sentence cannot be expressed without a finite verb. For example, do it now. Do is the subject, it is the verb, and now is the, do is the verb, finite verb. I made a mistake. Do is the finite verb, it is the object, and now you know expressing the time of the verb, therefore now is the adverb. Otherwise, the other 6 units in the sentence are not mandatory. In certain sentences, you may get object and adverb, you may get complement and adverb, and along with them, you may get the additional units like present participle phrase, past participle phrase, and infinitive phrase. But always bear in mind that object and complement, both an object and a complement cannot be used within a single clause. In a clause where there is an object, the clause cannot have a complement. In a clause in which there is a complement, that clause cannot have an object. So, let us go forward. The units in the sentence can be presented in a single word, or they can be presented in the group of in the groups of a number of words. For example, when we say Rana came here, you see Rana, subject, came, finite verb, and here is the adverb. With the same units, when I write a sentence like this one, the old man deals in some rare medicine. Look, in this sentence, the old man is the subject. Deals in is the verb. And some rare medicine is the object. Some rare medicine makes a noun phrase, and it does not mean the subject, the old man, or it does not refer, or it does not identify the subject, the old man. Therefore, this noun phrase is an object. Thus, a unit can be made of a single word, or a unit can be made of a group of words. When we have a unit in a single word, we will call it parts of speech. When we will get a unit composed of a number of words, we will call it a phrase. And now I will tell you which parts of speech are used in which unit in a subject, in a sentence. Finite verb, you know, always verb in a tense form. Similarly, present participle, past participle and infinitive phrases are verbs not in the tense forms. Subject and objects are always noun, and whenever a subject is in a group of words, we will call it a noun phrase. Objects are also always noun or noun phrase. Complements are sometimes adjectives and adjective phrases. Also sometimes nouns and noun phrases. You know, adverbs, whenever it is in a single word, like I went then. Then is an adverb. I went in the morning. In the morning is an adverb phrase. Parts of speech or phrase. So, different, I have shown here how different parts of speech are used in the units in the sentences. Noun is used in the subject, object and complements in the sentence. A noun, subjects, objects and nouns make the subjects or objects or complements of the sentence. Adjective makes the complement in the sentence. Adverbs make the time, place, manner, reason, duration, length of the verb, and present participle, past participle and infinitives make the non-finite verbs in the sentences, or the non-finite verbs mean the verbs not in either of the 12 tense forms. Whenever we get a unit in a single word, we call it a parts of speech. Well, in our student life in the early days, I can recall that we are told that all words in a sentence is a parts of speech. Actually, there are certain words which independently make a unit in a sentence. These words can be called, these words are called parts of speech. But when a group of words make a unit, all the words are dependent on one another, and thus in such a state we cannot identify the words in their different parts of speech. Rather, altogether these words make a phrase. And there is a difference between idioms and phrases. In many times I have seen that the learners and users of English identify both the idioms and the phrases as the similar language expression. Actually, in an idiom like the black sheep or the white elephant, the words lost their meanings and make a new sense of the phrase. All idioms are phrases, but when we call a phrase, we mean that words together making an idea in which the words do not lose their meanings or sentence. Today I am going to close this class now, and in the next class I hope to discuss different phrases used in the English sentences. We have 4 different phrases in English language: noun phrase, adjective phrase, adverb phrase, and noun phrase, adjective phrase, verb phrase, and adverb phrases. So in the next class I will discuss different phrases so that you can get a better idea about different units in a sentence. One thing you can think that what is the effect of, what is the necessary of learning these units. It is necessary to learn the units, because if you can identify the units in a sentence, you can interpret whatever you read or listen to correctly, and you can thus also write correct English after learning the units and their uses in their position in the clauses or sentences. So let us meet again in the next class. Till then, thank you all, stay safe and stay well. Khuda Hafiz.